You're late. You've got the coffee, you've got the half-panicked parking face, and the sign says, "Pay here," which is exactly the kind of phrase that makes a tired person stop thinking for 3 seconds and start scanning. That is the whole trap in one line. Parking rules are already annoying, and the scam leans on that pressure. It wants you moving fast, because fast people do not inspect little stickers very closely. The main warning is that cybercriminals can tamper with digital and physical QR codes, replacing legitimate codes with malicious ones. In a parking setup, that matters, because if the business uses QR codes for payment, criminals may replace the intended code with a tampered code that redirects the payment for criminal use. So the consequence is not just a weird sticker. A scan can send you to the wrong place, and a malicious QR code can direct you to a site that mimics a legitimate one and asks for login or financial information. There is also a device risk version, where a malicious code can point toward a download that gives attackers a way in. The exact outcome depends on what the code is hiding. The thing to watch next is simple. Do not let the code pick the payment path for you. In the next scenes, we'll look at what makes these codes feel normal, and what small sign you can check before you hand the sticker your trust. Here is why this works so well. In a lot of places, QR codes are normal now. You see them on menus, signs, meters, delivery notices, all kinds of things. So your brain stops treating the square like a stranger and starts treating it like a shortcut. That is the little trick. The code feels like part of the system, even when it may just be a sticker added later. The main warning is that cybercriminals can tamper with digital and physical QR codes to replace legitimate codes with malicious ones. Recent reporting has described fake QR code parking scams as a real-world pattern, which matters because the parking version is especially persuasive. You are already expecting a payment step. Once the scan is accepted as routine, the rest can happen fast. A tampered code can send you to a malicious site that mimics a legitimate one, ask for information, or, if payment is involved, redirect the payment for criminal use. The safest move is not to let the sticker or unknown code choose the payment site. Watch next for the small visual clue that tells you whether the code belongs there or was put there after the fact. Now the nasty part. The warning says criminals can tamper with QR codes, digital or physical, and swap in a malicious one. On a parking sign, that can mean the code you scan is not the one the business meant you to use. The mechanism is simple and annoying. The code is just a link in disguise. If someone replaces it, your scan can send you somewhere else. A bad code can send you to a page that looks legitimate and asks for login or financial information. And if a business uses QR codes for payment, criminals may replace the intended code with a tampered code that redirects the payment for criminal use. The square on the sign is not the whole story. It is the doorway. The consequence is that a rushed parking payment can become the wrong payment page, or a page asking for more information than it should. The warning also says that malicious QR codes can contain embedded malware that may allow access to a victim's device. So this is not only about money leaving the wrong way. The useful uncertainty is that you cannot tell by vibes alone which code is safe. So next, we look at what to inspect before you scan, and what to do if the sticker looks like it was added after the sign was born. Once the QR code sends you off the sign, the risk can split fast. One path is a fake payment page that looks like it belongs there, but is built to capture the transaction for criminal use instead of the real parking payment. Another path is a site that asks for login or financial information it should not need at all. The warning says malicious QR codes can direct victims to malicious sites that mimic legitimate sites and can ask for that information. There is also a separate problem. The code itself can be the delivery method for malware. The warning says malicious QR codes can contain embedded malware that may allow access to a victim's device. So this is not just about paying the wrong booze in a digital trench coat. It can become stolen details, redirected money, or a device compromise after one rush scan. What you can watch for next is simple but important. If a parking code takes you to a page that asks for more than a normal payment step, treat that as a warning sign. And if the QR path feels like the only path, that is exactly when the safer rule matters most. The annoying truth is that the code itself may not be original at all. It can be replaced. A legit code printed on a meter, a sign, or a notice can get covered by a tampered one. That means your first job is not to admire the little square like it's doing a magic trick. Your first job is to inspect the thing holding it. Is the code printed cleanly on the sign? Or does it look like a sticker, a patch, or a slapped-on square with a very suspicious amount of confidence. That tiny detail matters more than people want it to, because criminals count on us being in a hurry and mildly tired of parking as a concept. The guidance says cybercriminals can tamper with digital and physical QR codes and replace legitimate ones with malicious ones. It also warns that a malicious QR code can send you to a site that mimics a real one, ask for login or financial information, or even contain embedded malware that may allow access to your device. In a payment setup, the guidance says a tampered code can redirect the payment for criminal use. So the sticker is not just a sticker, it can be the part that decides where your money or your data goes. The consequence is simple and annoying. If you scan first and think later, you may have already handed the scam the steering wheel. The parking-specific reporting shows this is not just a theoretical cybersecurity lecture. Fake parking QR codes have shown up as a real-world pattern. What to watch next? Any code that looks added on top, any edge that does not match the sign, and any payment path you didn't choose yourself. If the code looks like it arrived by courier with a fake mustache, trust your eyes. Here is the safer rule in plain English. Do not let the code choose the payment site for you. A parking sign can look routine, but the scan itself is only the start of the trip. If you use a QR code, the guidance says to check the URL after scanning, be cautious when entering information, and avoid payments through sites reached from a QR code when possible. The mechanism is simple and annoying. A criminal can tamper with a physical QR code and replace a legitimate one with a malicious one. In a parking setup, that can mean the code sends you to a page that looks like the right payment flow, but the path is not the one you meant to take. That's why the safer move is to use the official meter, the known app, or the city or garage website or app store path you navigate to yourself. The consequence is not just a wasted minute. The guidance says malicious QR codes can mimic legitimate sites and ask for login or financial information, and can also redirect payment for criminal use. The ledger supports the general rule, but not every parking setup works the same way, so the exact risk depends on what the sign is actually doing. What to watch next? If the code is on top of a sticker, if the URL looks odd, or if you're being pushed to pay in a hurry, stop and take the known route instead. Boring is good here. Boring is the part that does not send your money to a fake checkout page wearing a parking vest. If you already scanned, the next move is simple. Look at the URL before you enter anything. That small checkpoint matters, because the page that opens may not be the page you expected. The guidance says to be cautious when a QR code sends you somewhere, and to avoid entering information without checking where the scan actually led. In a parking context, that can matter fast, because the whole setup is designed to feel routine. Scan, pay, leave, breathe. The scam only needs one rushed moment in the middle. Mechanically, the problem is not the square itself, it is the path it opens. A bad code can send you to a page that looks legitimate and asks for login or financial information. So the browser can look tidy while quietly being the wrong doorway. That's why the address bar is the checkpoint, not the vibe. If you spot a weird address, stop before typing anything. If you're using a parking service, the safer rule is still to use the official meter, known app, city or garage website, or app store path you navigate to yourself. What to watch next? A sticker that looks added on top, a payment page that appears too fast, or any scan that tries to rush you past the URL check. Maybe you are watching this after the fact. Fine. Do not do the dramatic thing where your brain starts writing a sequel called I Can't Believe I Did That. Treat it like a suspicious payment and move quickly. If you paid through a QR code that felt off, the guidance says to contact the card issuer or payment provider and explain what happened. Keep any screenshots or receipts you can find, because those details may help document what was submitted and where the payment went. The reason speed matters is simple. Official guidance warns that tampered QR codes can send people to malicious sites that mimic legitimate ones, ask for login or financial information, redirect a payment for criminal use, or even contain embedded malware that may allow access to a victim's device. So the problem is not just the sign, it is the path the code chose for you. The uncertainty is that every payment situation is different, and the source guidance does not promise a specific outcome. What you can control is the cleanup. Act fast, save evidence, and do not keep entering information into a page you do not trust. In the next beat, we will zoom out to the real-world parking pattern and the trick that makes rush drivers easiest to fool. This is why the parking version works so well. Parking already comes with pressure. You do not want a ticket. You do not want to be late. You do not want to spend another 5 minutes standing in a lot arguing with a machine that clearly resents humanity. That pressure makes a fast scan feel like the sensible move, especially when the sign is acting like the official path, and the line behind you is basically a one-person support queue. That's the mechanism the warning points to. Cybercriminals can tamper with digital and physical QR codes, and a fake code can send you to a malicious site or redirect a payment for criminal use. In a parking setting, the scam works best when the victim is moving quickly and does not stop to inspect whether the code is part of the sign or something stuck on top of it. The code is not magic, it's just a doorway, and the wrong doorway can be very persuasive when you are rushing. The consequence is simple and annoying. A rushed scan can become the wrong payment page, or a page that asks for information it should not need. We should be careful about one limit here. Recent reporting shows fake parking QR codes as a real-world pattern, but every individual sign is not automatically a scam. So the watch next rule is the same one that keeps your money from sprinting off without you. Pause long enough to inspect the sticker. And if you can, choose the official meter, known app, city or garage website, or app store path yourself instead of letting the code pick for you. And this is not just a neat theory for a cartoon to worry about. Recent reporting has described fake QR code parking scams turning up in the real world, including parking machines and signs. That matters, because it shows the parking version is not some imaginary edge case cooked up in a lab by a bored menace. It is a pattern regular drivers can actually run into. The mechanism is pretty simple, which is what makes it annoying. A parking sign or meter already tells you to pay now, so a QR code feels like part of the official path. If someone tampered with the code, the scan can send you somewhere else entirely. The warning says criminals can replace legitimate codes with malicious ones, and that those links can redirect payment or lead to sites that ask for information. The code is tiny. The consequence can be very not tiny. What the reports do not prove is that every QR code on every parking sign is bad. They do not. They show a real-world pattern, not automatic guilt. So the thing to watch next is whether the code looks pasted on, whether the payment path comes from the sign itself, and whether you can use a known official app or meter path, instead of letting the sticker choose for you. So, the bottom line is pretty boring, which is exactly why it works. If a parking sign, meter, or notice wants you to scan and pay, slow down long enough to inspect the code itself. The guidance says cybercriminals can tamper with digital and physical QR codes, and a tampered code can send you to a malicious site that mimics a legitimate one, or, in payment cases, redirect money for criminal use. That is why the safer move is not to treat the sticker as the authority. If you do scan, the safer checklist is simple. Check the URL, be careful before entering information, and use official App Store paths instead of whatever the code hands you. For parking specifically, the general rule is simple. Do not let a sticker or unknown code choose the payment site. Use the official meter, the known app, the city or garage website, or the App Store path you navigate to yourself. There is still one uncertainty. Not every QR code on a sign is fraudulent, and a scam can be hard to spot at a glance, because the whole trick is to look normal. So the watch item is the physical code itself. If it looks layered, replaced, or just a little off, assume the tiny square is trying to act way too confident, and choose the route you already trust instead. That is the trick in one clean package. The parking sign looks routine, the moment feels urgent, and the code can still send you to the wrong page. The scam works best when you are focused on the meter, the ticket clock, or the need to get moving. That is exactly why a rushed scan is the point, not an accident. The safer move is simple. Do not let the sticker or unknown code choose the payment site for you. If you need to pay, use the official meter, the known app, the city or garage website, or the App Store path you navigate to yourself. The checklist is pretty simple. Check where the code sent you, be careful before typing anything in, inspect the physical sticker, get apps through the official App Store, and avoid paying through a mystery QR path when you can. Recent reporting has described fake parking QR code scams as a real-world pattern, so this is not just a strange theory with a tiny square having an overconfident day. What we cannot know from a sign alone is whether the code is legitimate or has been replaced, which is why the inspection step matters. Next time you see a parking code, check the sticker first, then choose the path you already know is real.